Hello everyone, Charles from the Bible Unbound. And today we have the NIV Biblical Study Bible from Zondervan. It took me a little while to get this back from my wife to be able to review this because she actually likes this one. So we'll go to an overhead in a moment and take a look at it. So this is the NIV Biblical Theology Study Bible, as this was originally released as the NIV Zondervan Study Bible, but has actually had a revision. So it's the full text of the NIV. There's 28 theologically rich articles, 20,000 verse-by-verse study notes, over 60 contributors to it, hundreds of full-color photos interspersed throughout, comprehensive book introductions, cross-referencing, single-column black letter edition, Zondervan NIV Comfort Print typeface with a 9.1 font size. Let's see if we can get the ISBN number to show there. Let me open this up. Now this color scheme is something that my wife actually likes. This pink and kind of tan. And it says NIV Biblical Theology Study Bible there. It's blind stamped in with 3 stamped hubs. So it's sewn all the way around here. And this Leathersoft is that kind of a durable, kind of feels a little bit rubbery leather. Feels like this could stand to some abuse. It's already been in her bag a few times, so it's actually held up to that pretty well. So it's not tabbed, so this does look like it's pasted in. Nice clean block, sewn all the way around, even with the extra pieces sewn in. And it's a lay flat design that it almost lays flat even before the title page. So there's the copyright page and a quick start guide. Basically shows you a little bit about the maps, articles, concordance, illustrations, table of contents with the Old Testament, New Testament, listing of the maps and their locations. A nice little section here too, the time between the testaments. With notes on the different books, locations of the charts and what they're referring to, their illustrations and different articles and their locations, listing of their abbreviations and transliterations, which is good to know, acknowledgement page. Looks like listing of their editorial team and the editor's preface. I always recommend reading the preface at least one time to give you the idea of the textual basis that they're using, how they're translating things, and any special notations. And just like the NIV Study Bible, since this was actually developed from it, it has this nice chronology timeline from the Old Testament all the way through biblical history, from the which patriarchs, what was actually happening during that period in the different eras, and the estimated times from when like Joseph was born, Isaac dies, Joseph dies, all the way through into what would be the entirety of the Old Testament. These have very substantial chapter, or I should say book introductions. And some really good articles that follow it as well. My wife was really impressed with how much information they're throwing at you, with not just about the text itself, but what was happening during those times and other things that you don't necessarily see in most of the other study Bibles as well. Full introduction to the Pentateuch. Very nice. Colored illustrations about what the tabernacle would look like. Then you get to the introduction of itself, Genesis. Name and purpose, the background and author, the setting, map for the setting, the structures of it, how Genesis relates in science, Genesis in history, theology of God, faith, grace, and humanity, Genesis and the New Testament, and then the outline, the full outline of Genesis, and then going into it. And right off the bat, you can tell the very first page of Genesis has, it looks like 2 chapters and only 4 verses. And the entire rest of the page is just the notes from 1:1 to 1:5. An incredible amount of information. So getting into the Bible part itself, so this is a single column, center column references with the translation and notes at the bottom, and the actual notes for the study Bible itself, and a sectioned off section with a different color highlighting which are the actual notes. A nice blue on white scheme. And the font for the study notes is a different font from the actual Comfort Print for the Bible itself, which helped distinguish which ones are the notes and which ones aren't. Clean. There is just a lot of information packed in here. When you add that to the like some of the biblical examples and full color pictures, like an example of what the cherubs should look like, that are talked about in Genesis 3:24. Then when you get into the accounts of Noah and how large that the whole ark should have been, and with the example of a football field next to it and a house. If you ever get a chance to visit the ark exhibit, I would highly recommend that. My wife and I actually spent some time there this last summer, and it's an amazing example of what it would have taken to actually do that. And nice chronology of Noah's time in the ark. I was very impressed. My wife has just fallen in love with this study Bible among all the other study Bibles. So I think she likes this one a little bit better than the ESV study Bible that we have as well. Very nice full color illustrations. They're just packing so much information in here. Even in 1 Samuel, there's just a lot of information. So let's jump ahead a little bit more and go into a poetic section. Now, going back to the text itself, yes, there is ghosting. It's not overwhelming. It's not line matched, so the ghosting is noticeable. In the right lighting conditions, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I had some ghosting issues with other study Bibles, like my ESV Concise Study Bible, whose the ghosting in there, I don't know if you can see that, is like very, very overwhelming. And it's very hard to read the actual notes that are in there compared, even in this view, you can really see it. Over here, it doesn't seem to be that bad. I do like that. You'll hear me say that a lot. We'll jump through and section of the wisdom and lyrical books. So we're into Job and then in Psalms. So the poetic sections is where you definitely notice any ghosting or see-through. That's why I always go there to take a look. Very clean. The notes show up very well. And when it comes down to it, I mean, they have plenty of margin space on here too, that if you were going to take any little notes and underlining, highlighting, I think that would actually come across fairly well in here. Let's try to jump ahead to the New Testament. Very nice. These color illustrations and a section about the time in between the testaments, where they even touch on, I think they touch a little bit on the apocryphal notes as well, because they do reference, the Maccabean time history, as well as what was actually happening in between. And then you get into the New Testament chronology and the New Testament itself, with its introduction, introduction of the Gospels and the Acts. Some very nice, rich articles in here. And then you go into the introduction to Matthew, highlights of Jesus' ministry, background, purpose, genre, theology. There's just so much information in here. Go into Matthew, and it is a red letter. It's not a red letter edition. It's a black letter edition, and they're packing so much. House of Herod, Jesus, timeline, the history of Jesus' birth and early life, and his travels. Good full color page on Herod's temple. That's nice. So there's not just the maps in the back. There's maps throughout that are topical. I like seeing that. The notes are very spot on. I haven't noticed a real bias about anything other than the actual textual explanations. I've seen ones where, like, John, same thing as in Genesis, like John 1 through 8, and then the whole rest of the text is just, the study notes. All in all, highly impressive. And you get back to sections that I actually like to see with the harmony of the Gospels, where they're showing the event, what's the location, and where they actually coincide with each of the sections of the New Testament. The introduction to Acts. I just noticed I didn't even get into the ribbons. It comes with a pink and it looks like tan ribbon that are single-sided. Shiny on one side, yep. Acts, Corinthians, Philippians, Timothy. The introductions are great. On some of the smaller books, the introduction could be actually larger than the entire book, which I've seen study Bibles where that happens, especially in a small, 1st and 2nd John. And at the end of the book, I skip right past it. So, after the end of Revelation, you get into the listing of the articles. So you have a bunch of nice articles in here in the back that explain things like the hermeneutical circle, biblical theology, creation, law. This is so much information. All of those articles. And after the articles, there is a pretty decent concordance. Smaller type font on that concordance. You might have a little trouble reading it because it's definitely smaller than the original. I think it's like if that's supposed to be an 8 or a 9 font size, it's a 9.1 font. Then this has to be like a 6. pretty big concordance on here. Yes, it's a very substantial concordance. And then map index, where all the maps are that are throughout the book. And they have some nice overall maps here I'm trying to get to. So the maps at the back of the book, it looks like they're printed on the same type of paper. So they are a little thin. There's not much show through on the maps, but there is just a little bit on the page behind it. But they're still pretty nice, good, clean colors. Really readable. And then from the end, you get the rear liner in the back of the book. So, as far as a study Bible goes, there is a ton of information packed into this. As you can tell, it's a pretty hefty book here. My wife really likes this. She likes to go deep in her structures. It looks pretty. That nice two-tone pink. May not be everybody's cup of tea, but she likes that coloring. And I'm more interested in what's actually in the Bible itself. So, one I would highly recommend. As far as the study Bibles that I've looked at lately, if I would have to rate them, you have the ESV Study Bible, excellent. It's like the number one study Bible out there that I've seen. Then you've got things like the Apologetic Study Bible that I really, really like. I had reviewed the CSB Study Bible, another good solid resource. And this actually ranks up with them and has more and slightly different information. That's why it's actually good sometimes to have more than one study Bible. But if I were to pick one to be able to start with, if you're trying to dive deep and get a lot of information, I would definitely go and pick up this, the Biblical Theology Study Bible, or its parent study Bible, which is the NIV Study Bible. So this is basically the predecessor, and this has a lot of the same information, but this one tends to go in a little bit more in depth that I've seen. All in all, excellent study Bible. Definitely recommend it. My wife definitely enjoys this, and that's actually a good, a good endorsement as well. So, again, we just ask you to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you've used this study Bible or if you have any other study Bible or resources that you would recommend so that we can pass that along to people that might be interested in seeing it. So, again, have a good day, evening, night, wherever you happen to be, and we hope to see you in another video.